Captain Marcus Chun opened his eyes to see three ugly faces staring down at him. The faces belonged to creatures that looked like giant lizards walking on two legs. Their skin was dark green and covered in scales. Their yellow eyes had no warmth in them. Sharp teeth filled their mouths when they smiled, but it was not a kind smile. Marcus tried to move, but found his hands and feet were tied to a metal table. His head hurt badly. The last thing he remembered was his fighter ship spinning out of control after being hit by enemy fire. He had been flying alone on a mission deep in enemy space. When they caught him, the largest of the three creatures stepped forward. It wore a uniform with many colored patches that Marcus guessed meant it was important. When it spoke, its voice was deep and rough like rocks grinding together. "The human is awake," the creature said in broken English. "I am High Commander Vexthal of the Zethkari Empire. You are a prisoner now." Marcus had heard of the Zethkari before. They were a race of lizard-like beings who loved war and conquering other worlds. For 3 years now, they had been fighting against humans and their allies. They were known to be cruel to prisoners. Marcus expected to be tortured or killed. "What do you want from me?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Vexthal made a sound that might have been laughter. "We want nothing from you, human. You have already given us what we need." Marcus was confused. "What do you mean?" "You are the first human pilot we have captured alive," Vexthal explained. "This is a great victory for our people. We have been trying to catch one of your kind for months." The other two Zethkari nodded and made happy hissing sounds. Marcus still did not understand why they were so pleased. If they just wanted to study him or get information, there were easier ways than keeping him alive. Vexthal continued talking. "In our culture, when we achieve a great victory, we celebrate with honors. The warrior who wins the victory gets a special gift." Marcus felt cold fear in his stomach. He had heard stories about what the Zethkari did to prisoners from other worlds. They kept slaves and treated them worse than animals. "Since you are our great prize," Vexthal said, "we will honor you in the traditional way. We will give you a captive from our recent conquest. She will be yours to do with as you please." Marcus stared at the alien commander. They wanted to give him a slave? The idea made him sick. Humans had stopped keeping slaves hundreds of years ago. The thought of owning another thinking being was horrible to him. "I don't want a slave," Marcus said firmly. This made all three Zethkari look surprised. They spoke to each other in their own language, making quick clicking and hissing sounds. Finally, Vexthal turned back to Marcus. "You do not understand," the commander said. "This is a great honor. The captive is from a race called Delirians. They are very beautiful and intelligent. Many of our warriors would kill for such a prize." Marcus shook his head. "I said I don't want a slave. Free me or kill me, but I won't own another person." The Zethkari looked at each other again. Marcus could see they were confused by his answer. In their world, everyone wanted to own others if they could. They could not understand why a prisoner would refuse such a gift. Vexthal made a decision. "You will see the captive first. Then you will change your mind." All creatures want to dominate others when given the chance. You humans are no different. The Zethkari untied Marcus from the table, but kept metal chains on his hands and feet. They led him through a series of dark hallways made of the same gray metal. The walls were covered with weapons and pictures of Zethkari, victories in battle. They brought him to a large room with many cages along the walls. Inside the cages were creatures from different worlds. Marcus saw some that looked like tall, thin cats walking upright. Others looked like bears with 4 arms. All of them looked scared and hurt. In the center of the room was a smaller cage made of clear material. Inside sat a female creature unlike any Marcus had ever seen. She had pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the dim light. Her hair was long and white as snow. She was tall and thin, with large eyes that changed color like oil on water. This was a Lyrian, Marcus realized. He had heard of their race but never seen one before. They were known to be peaceful people who loved art and science. They never fought wars and had no armies to defend themselves. The female Lyrian looked up when the group approached. Her eyes were full of fear and sadness. Marcus could see fresh cuts and bruises on her arms and face. Her clothes were torn and dirty. "This is Zara," Vexthel announced. "She was a scientist on one of the Lyrian colonies we conquered last month. Very smart, very pretty. She would make an excellent servant for a warrior like yourself." Marcus looked at the scared creature in the cage. She was staring at him with those color-changing eyes, probably wondering what new horror awaited her. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest, not at her, but at the creatures who had done this to her. "What did our people do to you?" Marcus asked Vexthel. "Nothing," the commander replied, sounding proud. "They had no weapons, no armies. They were easy to conquer. We took their worlds because we could." Marcus felt sick. The Zethkari had attacked innocent people just because they were strong enough to do it. They had destroyed families and homes for no reason except their own entertainment. Vexthel was watching Marcus carefully. "So, human, do you accept this gift? Will you take ownership of the Lyrian female?" Marcus looked at Zara again. She was still staring at him, waiting to learn her fate. In her eyes, he saw intelligence and strength, even through the fear and pain. This was not an animal or an object. This was a person with thoughts and feelings and dreams. Marcus made his choice. "Yes," he said slowly. "I will take responsibility for her." Vexthel smiled his sharp-toothed smile. The other Zethkari made happy hissing sounds. They thought they had proven that humans were just like them, willing to own others. When given the chance, they had no idea how wrong they were. The Zethkari guards opened Zara's cage and pulled her out roughly. She stumbled and almost fell, but caught herself. Marcus could see that she was weak from poor treatment and little food. The chains on her wrists and ankles were too heavy for her thin frame. "She is yours now, human," Vexthel declared. "Do with her what you will. Beat her if she disobeys. Use her as you see fit. This is the Zethkari way." Marcus stepped forward, and the Lyrian female backed away from him in fear. Her eyes were wide, and her whole body was shaking. She expected him to hurt her, just like the Zethkari had been doing. Instead, Marcus did something that shocked everyone in the room. He got down on one knee so he would be at her eye level. When he spoke, his voice was gentle and calm. "Hello," Marcus said to Zara. "My name is Marcus. I want you to know that you are safe now. No one will hurt you anymore." Zara stared at him with confusion. She spoke in a musical voice that sounded like wind chimes. Marcus did not understand her words, but he could hear the question in her tone. Marcus turned to Vexthel. "I need these chains removed from her." "Why?" the commander asked. "She might try to escape." "She is not my prisoner," Marcus said firmly. "She is under my protection, but she is free to make her own choices." The Zethkari looked at each other with complete confusion. Vexthel's yellow eyes narrowed. "I do not understand your words, human. She belongs to you now. You own her." Marcus stood up and faced the alien commander. "No, I do not own her. No one owns her. She's a free person with the right to live her own life." "This is madness," Vexthel hissed. "You refuse the gift of ownership? This is a great insult to our traditions." "Then I insult your traditions," Marcus replied without fear. "Where I come from, we believe every thinking being has the right to be free. I will protect her, but I will never own her." The other Zethkari began talking quickly to each other in their clicking language. Marcus could tell they were very upset by what he had said. Their whole way of thinking was built around the idea that the strong should rule over the weak. They could not understand why Marcus would give up power when it was offered to him. Vexthal made an angry, growling sound. "You are weak, human. You do not deserve such a prize. Perhaps we should give her to a Zethkari warrior who will use her properly." Marcus stepped between Vexthal and Zara. "You gave her to me. If you take her away now, you break your own traditions. Are Zethkari promises worth nothing?" This made Vexthal even angrier, but Marcus was right. In Zethkari culture, breaking a promise was a sign of weakness. The commander had already announced that Zara belonged to Marcus. To take her back now would make him look foolish in front of his own people. "Fine," Vexthal snarled. "Keep your strange ideas, human. But when she betrays you or runs away, do not come crying to us. You will learn that kindness is weakness, and weakness brings pain." The Zethkari removed the chains from Zara's wrists and ankles. She rubbed her sore skin and looked at Marcus with wonder. She said something in her own language, but he could only shake his head to show he did not understand. "We will put you both in the same holding cell," Vexthal announced. "Let us see how long your human softness lasts when you must live with the consequences." The guards led Marcus and Zara through more hallways to a different part of the prison. They were put in a cell that was larger than the others. It had 2 sleeping areas, a small table, and a tiny washing area. The walls were thick metal with no windows. When the guards left them alone, Marcus sat down on the floor and pointed to the other sleeping area. "That is yours," he said slowly, hoping she would understand his meaning. "You can rest there. You are safe." Zara watched him carefully. She said something in her musical language and pointed to herself, then to Marcus, then to the sleeping areas. Marcus nodded and pointed to himself, then to his sleeping area, then to her and her sleeping area. "Separate," Marcus said, holding up 2 fingers. "You there, me here. Safe." A look of understanding came into Zara's eyes. For the first time since Marcus had seen her, she did not look afraid. She sat down across from him and spoke again in her language. This time, her voice was calmer. Over the next few hours, Marcus tried to communicate with Zara using simple words and hand signs. He learned that she understood some basic English words, probably from contact with human traders before the war. She was very smart and learned quickly. Marcus taught her more English words, while she taught him some Lyrian words. Her name, Zara, meant bright star in her language. When she smiled for the first time, Marcus thought the name fit her perfectly. As they talked, Marcus learned more about what had happened to Zara. The Zethkari had attacked her homeworld without warning. Her family had been killed in the first attack. She and thousands of other Lyrians had been taken as slaves. When Zara finished her story, she was crying. Marcus wanted to comfort her, but he was careful not to touch her without permission. Instead, he moved a little closer and spoke in a gentle voice. "I am sorry about your family," Marcus said. "I am sorry about your home. The Zethkari are wrong to do these things. Not all races are like them." Zara looked at him with her color-changing eyes. "Why?" she asked in broken English. "Why you help Zara? You not know Zara before." Marcus thought about how to explain it in simple words she would understand. "Because it is right," he said finally. "Good people help other good people. It does not matter if we are different races." "Zethkari not think this way," Zara said. "No," Marcus agreed. "But humans do. We believe all people should be free and safe. We believe in helping each other." Zara was quiet for a long time, thinking about his words. Finally, she spoke again. "Marcus good person," she said. "Zara will learn from Marcus. Maybe Zara can help Marcus too." "You already do help me," Marcus told her. "You help me remember why we fight against the Zethkari. You help me remember what we are trying to protect." That night, they slept in their separate areas. But for the first time in months, Both of them slept peacefully. Marcus had found someone to protect and care for. Zara had found someone who saw her as a person, not a thing to be owned. Outside their cell, Zethkari guards watched and reported everything they saw to their commanders. The aliens were confused by the strange behavior of the human prisoner. They expected him to use Zara for his own pleasure, or at least to make her serve him as a slave. Instead, Marcus treated her with respect and kindness. He shared his food with her equally. He gave her privacy when she needed it. He listened when she spoke and answered her questions patiently. The Zethkari could not understand why anyone would behave this way. In their minds, the strong took what they wanted from the weak. That was the natural order of things. But Marcus seemed to have no interest in taking anything from Zara, an all-high commander. Vextel decided to watch this strange human more closely. Surely, the prisoner would show his true nature eventually. All creatures wanted power over others when they had the chance. The commander had no idea that he was about to learn something completely new about human nature. 3 weeks passed in the prison cell. During this time, Marcus and Zara learned to talk to each other much better. Zara was very smart and picked up English quickly. Marcus learned some Lyrian words too, though they were harder for his human mouth to say correctly. Every day, the guards brought them food and water. The food was not very good, just some kind of gray paste and stale bread. But Marcus always made sure Zara got her fair share. Sometimes he gave her part of his own food when he thought she looked too thin. The Zethkari guards watched this with confusion. They expected Marcus to take the best food for himself and give Zara only scraps. That was what Zethkari masters did with their slaves. But Marcus did the opposite. "Why you give Zara food?" she asked one day. "You need eat too. Stay strong." Marcus smiled at her. "You need to stay strong too. We are partners, not master and slave. Partners help each other." Zara thought about this word, partners. In her language, there was a similar word that meant two stars that shine together. She liked the idea that she and Marcus were like two stars helping each other shine brighter as her English got better. Zara began telling Marcus more about her life before the war. She had been a doctor and scientist on her home world. She studied plants and how to make medicine from them. Her people were very advanced in healing arts. "I help sick people get better," she explained. "Lyrian's very good at finding medicine in nature. We can make plants help heal hurt bodies." Marcus was impressed. "That sounds amazing. Humans have medicine too, but we make most of ours in laboratories. Learning from plants sounds much better." "Zara can teach Marcus about plant medicine," she offered. "If Marcus wants to learn." "I would like that very much," Marcus replied. "But how can you teach without plants to study?" Zara pointed to a small crack in their cell wall where a tiny green plant was growing. "Life finds a way to grow anywhere. Even in this bad place, nature tries to live." She carefully picked the small plant and showed Marcus its different parts. She explained how each part could be used for different kinds of healing. Marcus listened carefully and asked good questions. Zara felt happy to share her knowledge with someone who truly cared about learning. As they talked more, other prisoners in nearby cells began listening to their conversations. The prison held many different kinds of beings from worlds the Zethkari had conquered. Most of them had given up hope of ever being free again. But hearing Marcus and Zara talk about partnership and respect gave some of them new ideas. If a human could treat an alien with such kindness, maybe there was still good in the universe. Maybe the Zethkari way was not the only way. One day, a prisoner from the cell next to theirs spoke up. He was one of the cat-like creatures Marcus had seen before. His name was Kess, and he had been a teacher before his capture. "Excuse me, human Marcus," Kess said in accented English. "I hear you and the Lyrian female talking. You speak of partnership and respect. These are words I have not heard in this place for many months. Marcus moved closer to the wall between their cells. Hello, Kes. Yes, Zara and I are partners. We help each other and treat each other as equals. This is very strange to me, Kes admitted. In my experience, when one being has power over another, they use that power for their own benefit. But you do not do this. Why? Marcus thought about how to explain. In human culture, we believe that helping others makes everyone stronger. When I help Zara, she becomes better able to help me. When she helps me, I become better able to help her. Together, we are both stronger than we would be alone. Kes was quiet for a moment. This is wisdom I had not considered. The Zethkari teach that the strong must take from the weak, or they will become weak themselves. But you suggest the opposite, that the strong become stronger by making the weak strong also. Exactly, Marcus said. When everyone is strong and free, everyone benefits. Zara joined the conversation. In Lyrian culture, we have saying, forest is strong because each tree helps others grow. One tree alone can be broken by storm. But forest of trees protect each other. These words spread through the prison like wildfire. Prisoners who had not talked to each other in months began sharing these new ideas. They started helping each other in small ways, sharing food, treating injuries, offering comfort to those who were sad. The Zethkari guards noticed the change, but did not understand it. The prisoners seemed less broken and hopeless than before. Some of them had even started teaching each other their languages and skills. Hi, Commander Vexthul heard about these developments and came to observe the prisoners himself. He watched Marcus and Zara through the bars of their cell, trying to understand what was happening. Human, Vexthul called out. I see you have been spreading your weak ideas to the other prisoners. Marcus stood up and faced the commander. I have been sharing human ideas about respect and cooperation. If you think those are weak ideas, that says more about you than about us. Vexthul's eyes flashed with anger. You think you are clever, human, but your softness will be your downfall. Watch what happens to those who trust in kindness instead of strength. The commander ordered his guards to separate some of the prisoners who had been talking to each other. But this only made the others more determined to help each other. They found new ways to communicate and share their knowledge. Zara had been watching and listening to everything. That evening, she spoke to Marcus about what she had learned. Marcus, she said, Zara think maybe this is bigger than just us. Other prisoners, they start to believe in good things again because they see how Marcus treats Zara. Marcus nodded. I think you're right. People need hope. When they see that goodness is possible, even in a place like this, it gives them strength to keep going. Zara have idea, she continued. Zara know about plants and healing. Kes know about teaching. Other prisoners have knowledge too. Maybe we can help each other learn and grow stronger. That's a wonderful idea, Marcus agreed. We could start teaching sessions. Share what we know with each other. So they began holding secret classes in the evenings after the guards went off duty. Marcus taught about human technology and engineering. Zara taught about medicine and plant science. Kes taught about history and philosophy. Other prisoners shared their own skills and knowledge. The four-armed bear-like creatures knew about farming and growing food. The tall bird-like beings knew about mathematics and astronomy. Even prisoners who seemed broken and hopeless had something valuable to contribute. As the weeks went by, the atmosphere in the prison changed completely. Prisoners who had been enemies because of old wars between their worlds now worked together toward common goals. They began to see each other not as different species, but as fellow beings who deserve respect and freedom. The Zethkari were becoming very concerned. Their whole system of control was based on keeping prisoners hopeless and divided. But now the prisoners were united and growing stronger every day. Vexthul, decided that something had to be done about the human who was causing all this trouble. He began planning a test that would force Marcus to show his true nature. Surely, when faced with a choice between his own safety and his loyalty to the Lyrian, the human would finally prove that he was just like every other creature in the universe, selfish and power-hungry at heart. The commander had no idea that he was about to learn the most important lesson of his life about the true nature of human courage. High Commander Vexthal stood in his office, looking at reports about the prison. The human prisoner had been there for 2 months now, and everything was going wrong. The other prisoners were no longer broken and hopeless. They were working together, learning from each other, and becoming stronger every day. This was not how things were supposed to work. Prisoners were supposed to fight each other and give up hope. Instead, they were acting like some kind of strange family. It was all because of the human and his soft treatment of the Lyrian female. Vexthal had tried to understand why Marcus acted this way. In Zethkari society, when someone was given a slave, they used that slave for their own benefit. They took whatever they wanted and showed their dominance. But Marcus did none of these things. The commander had watched Marcus share his food, protect Zara from harm, and treat her like an equal. This behavior made no sense to the Zethkari mind. Why would anyone give up power when it was offered to them? Vexthal decided it was time to test the human properly. He would create a situation where Marcus had to choose between his own freedom and his loyalty to the Lyrian. Surely, when faced with such a choice, the human would show his true selfish nature. Meanwhile, in their cell, Zara was working on a secret project. Using her knowledge of science and some small pieces of metal she had found, she was building a communication device. She worked on it only late at night when the guards were not watching closely. Marcus knew she was building something but did not ask too many questions. He trusted her judgment and helped by keeping watch for guards while she worked. Zara, Marcus whispered one night as she carefully connected 2 pieces of wire. "What are you making?" "Zara tried to build a machine to send messages," she replied quietly. "If Zara can reach human ships, maybe they can come help us." Marcus felt a surge of hope. "Do you think it will work?" "Zara, not sure," she admitted. "But must try. Cannot stay here forever. Other prisoners need freedom too." Marcus nodded. "You're right. If there's any chance of getting help, we have to take it." Zara smiled at him in the dim light. Marcus gave Zara hope when Zara had none. Now Zara tried to give hope back. The next morning, guards came to their cell earlier than usual. They were carrying chains and weapons, which was not a good sign. "Human Marcus," one of the guards said. "High Commander Vexthal wants to see you. Come with us." Marcus looked at Zara with concern. "Will she be safe while I'm gone?" The guard laughed. "The Lyrian is not your worry anymore." They put chains on Marcus and led him through the prison to Vexthal's office. The room was large and dark, with weapons covering the walls. The High Commander sat behind a big metal desk, his yellow eyes glowing in the dim light. "Sit down, human," Vexthal commanded. Pointing to a chair across from his desk, Marcus sat but kept his back straight and his eyes on the commander. He would not show fear, no matter what was planned for him. "I have been watching you for 2 months," Vexthal began. "Your behavior has been very strange. You treat your slave like an equal. You share your resources with her. You protect her from harm. This is not natural behavior for any intelligent creature." "It's natural for humans," Marcus replied calmly. Vexthal made an angry hissing sound. "I do not believe this. You are pretending to be weak to fool us. No creature would willingly give up power over another unless they were planning something." "Believe what you want," Marcus said. "I know what I believe." The commander stood up and walked around his desk to stand closer to Marcus. "Today, I will prove that you are lying. Today, you will show your true nature," Marcus waited silently for Vexthil to explain his plan. "I am offering you a choice," the commander continued. "I will give you a ship and safe passage back to human space. You can return to your people as a hero. You will be free." This was not what Marcus had expected. "What's the catch?" "The catch is simple." Vexthil smiled his sharp-toothed smile. "To earn this freedom, you must give me the Lyrian female. She will become part of my personal collection. I have been wanting a Lyrian for my own pleasure for some time." Marcus felt cold anger rising in his chest. He understood now what kind of test this was supposed to be. Vexthil wanted to prove the humans were just as selfish as Zethkari. When faced with freedom, the commander believed Marcus would abandon Zara without a second thought. "No," Marcus said simply. Vexthil looked surprised. "You refuse freedom? Think carefully, human. This offer will not come again. Choose your own liberty, or stay here forever as a prisoner." "I said no," Marcus repeated more firmly. "I will not trade Zara's safety for my freedom. But she is just a slave." Vexthil shouted. "She means nothing. Your freedom means everything." Marcus stood up from his chair, even though the chains made it difficult. When he spoke, his voice was steel. "Zara is not a slave. She's not mine to trade or give away. She is a free person with the right to make her own choices about her life. I would rather die in this prison than betray someone who trusts me." Vexthil stared at Marcus with complete disbelief. The human was choosing to remain a prisoner rather than abandon his slave. This went against everything the Zethkari believed about how intelligent beings behaved. "This is madness," Vexthil whispered. "No creature would make such a choice. There must be some trick, some plan you are hiding." "The only trick is that you cannot understand the truth," Marcus replied. "You cannot believe that someone would choose loyalty over personal gain because you have never done it yourself." The commander's yellow eyes burned with rage. "Fine. If you will not take freedom when it is offered, then you will learn what happens to those who defy the natural order. You and your precious Lyrian will both pay for your weakness." Marcus was not afraid. "Do what you want to me, but you gave Zara to me under your own traditions. If you harm her now, you break your word. What will your own people think of a commander who cannot keep his promises?" This made Vexthil even angrier, but Marcus was right again. The Zethkari had their own rules about keeping their word. If Vexthil broke his promise now, he would look weak to his own soldiers. "Take the human back to his cell," Vexthil ordered the guards. "But double the security. I want every word they speak to be reported to me." As the guards led Marcus away, Vexthil sat down heavily in his chair. He had been so certain that the human would choose freedom. Every creature he had ever known would have made that choice. But Marcus had chosen loyalty instead. For the first time in his life, High Commander Vexthil began to wonder if maybe the Zethkari way was not the only way. Maybe there really was something different about humans. Something that made them stronger, not weaker, than other races back in their cell. Zara was waiting anxiously for Marcus to return. When she saw him being brought back in chains, she felt both relief and worry. "What happened?" she asked as soon as the guards left. Marcus told her about Vexthil's offer and his refusal. When he finished, Zara was quiet for a long time. "Marcus could be free," she said finally. "Marcus could go home." Why Marcus choose stay with Zara? Marcus looked at her seriously. "Because you are my friend. Friends do not abandon each other. Where I come from, we believe that freedom means nothing if it comes from betraying someone who trusts you." Zara felt tears in her eyes. No one had ever shown her such loyalty before. Zara will never forget this. Zara will find a way to help Marcus get free too. That night, Zara worked harder than ever on her communication device. She was more determined than ever to contact the human fleet and find a way to save not just herself and Marcus. but all the prisoners who had found new hope in this dark place. She did not know that help was closer than she thought. 3 days after Marcus refused his freedom, Zara finally completed her communication device. It was small enough to hide in her hands and made from bits of metal and wire she had gathered over weeks of careful work. Late that night, when the prison was quiet, she activated the device. A soft blue light glowed from the tiny machine as it searched for human communication signals in space. "Please work," she whispered to herself. "Please find them." For several minutes, there was nothing but static. Then, suddenly, a voice came through the device, speaking in English. "This is Captain Sarah Morrison of the human ship Defiant. Is someone trying to contact us?" Zara's hand shook with excitement. She had done it. She had reached a human ship. "Hello, Captain Morrison," Zara said quietly into the device. "My name is Zara. I am prisoner on Zethkari prison world with many others, including human pilot Marcus Chun." There was silence for a moment. Then the captain's voice came back, sounding very interested. "Marcus Chun? We've been looking for him for months. Can you tell me your exact location?" Zara quickly explained where they were being held. She described the layout of the prison and told the captain about all the different prisoners from many worlds. She also told her about Marcus and how he had changed life in the prison. "The human Marcus, he showed all prisoners what it means to be free and equal," Zara explained. "He teaches that different races can work together with respect. He gave hope where there was no hope before." Captain Morrison listened carefully to everything Zara said. "We're going to get you out of there," she promised. "Keep this device hidden and stay alert. We'll contact you when we're close." 2 weeks later, Zara's device crackled with another message. The human rescue fleet was approaching the prison world. They would attack in the early morning when most of the guards were sleeping. Zara woke Marcus and told him the good news. Word spread quickly through the prison cells as other prisoners prepared for the rescue attempt. When the attack came, it was swift and effective. Human ships bombed the outer defenses, while Special Forces soldiers fought their way into the prison itself. The information Zara had provided about the prison's layout made all the difference. Marcus and Zara led the other prisoners to safety, while the human soldiers held off the Zethkari guards. High Commander Vextil tried to escape, but was captured along with most of his officers. As the rescue ships lifted off from the prison world, Marcus sat next to Zara and looked out the window at the planet falling away below them. "We did it," he said quietly. "We're all free." Zara smiled at him. "We free because Marcus showed us what freedom really means. Not just being out of cage. Real freedom means choosing to help others, even when it costs us something." The journey back to human space took several weeks. During this time, Zara learned more about human culture and technology. She also taught the human crew about Lyrian science and medicine. Her knowledge amazed the ship's doctors, who had never seen plant-based healing techniques so advanced. When they arrived at the main human colony world, Zara was offered a choice. She could be taken to a safe refugee camp with other Lyrians who had escaped the war, or she could stay with Marcus and work with the human government. Zara chose to stay. She had learned that her skills could help both humans and refugees from many worlds. More importantly, she wanted to continue the work that she and Marcus had started in the prison, building understanding between different races. 6 months later, Zara had become the first Lyrian ambassador to humanity. She worked with human leaders to create new programs for refugees and prisoners of war. Her medical knowledge helped human doctors develop better treatments for many diseases. But her most important work was teaching other refugees what she had learned from Marcus. She helped them understand that not all powerful races were like the Zethkari. Some, like humans, use their strength to protect and help others instead of conquering them. Marcus returned to active duty as a pilot, but he also worked closely with Zara on refugee programs. Together, they traveled to many human colonies, sharing their story and building bridges between different species. The effects of their work spread far beyond what either of them had imagined. Word of Marcus's choice in the prison reached other worlds that were still neutral in the war. Many of them decided to join the Human Alliance after hearing how humans treated their prisoners with respect. Even more surprising was what happened among the HFY themselves. Video recordings of Marcus refusing his freedom had been seen by lower-ranking HFY soldiers. Some of them began to question their own traditions of dominance and cruelty. Acosta, group of young HFY officers, started a secret movement to change their society. They called themselves the New Way and worked to replace the old system of masters and slaves with something more like human cooperation. When the war finally ended 2 years later, it was not through complete victory by either side. Instead, the New Way HFY leaders negotiated a peace treaty with the humans. They agreed to free all their slaves and to learn new ways of dealing with other races. High Commander Vexthal, who had been held in a human prison since his capture, was released as part of the peace agreement. To everyone's surprise, he asked to meet with Marcus before returning to his own people. "I have had much time to think about what happened in the prison," Vexthal told Marcus during their meeting. "For months, I could not understand why you chose to stay rather than abandon the Lyrian. I thought you were weak or stupid." Marcus listened patiently as the former commander continued. "But I have watched how humans treat their prisoners, including me. You give us food, medical care, and respect, even though we are your enemies. You do not torture or abuse us. This is different from what I expected." "Different how?" Marcus asked. Vexthal struggled to find the words. "In my culture, we believe that being kind to enemies makes you weak. But I see now that humans are not weak. You are very strong. Your strength comes from something I do not fully understand yet, but I want to learn. It comes from believing that all thinking beings have value," Marcus explained. "When we help others become strong, we all become stronger together." The old HFY nodded slowly. "This is what the young ones in my people are trying to teach us now. They say they learned it from stories about you and the Lyrian female. They say you proved that there is a better way than conquest and domination." After the meeting, Vexthal returned to his homeworld, where he became one of the leaders working to change HFY society. It was slow and difficult work, but the seeds of change had been planted. 5 years after the war ended, Marcus and Zara were invited to speak at the first interspecies peace conference. Representatives from dozens of different worlds came to learn about building cooperation between races. As they stood together on the stage, looking out at the audience of many different species, Zara thought about how far they had both come since that first day in the prison cell. "Marcus," she said quietly, "do you remember when HFY gave you choice between freedom and loyalty?" "Of course I remember," Marcus replied. "Zara think maybe that was most important choice in galactic history," she said with a smile. "One human choosing to be kind instead of selfish. Now look what happened." Marcus looked out at the diverse audience: humans, Lyrians, reformed HFY, and many other species working together toward common goals of peace and cooperation. "I think you're right," he said. "But I wasn't the only one who made important choices. You chose to build that communication device instead of giving up hope. The other prisoners chose to believe in something better. Even Vexthal chose to change his mind about what strength really means." Zara nodded. "True. But Marcus showed us all that it was possible." Marcus gives Zara new life, and Zara tried to help others find new life too. When they began their speech, Marcus and Zara told the story of how they met and what they learned from each other. They talked about the power of treating others with dignity and respect, Even in the darkest circumstances, in the audience, young beings from many different worlds listened and learned. Some of them would go on to become leaders who continued building the peaceful galaxy that Marcus and Zara had helped to create. As the conference ended and the different species returned to their home worlds, they carried with them a simple but powerful message. True strength comes not from conquering others, but from helping others to be strong and free. The story of the human who was honored with a captive, but gave her a new life, became a legend told throughout the galaxy. It reminded everyone that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can change the entire universe. Marcus and Zara never forgot the lesson they learned in that prison cell, that freedom means nothing unless it is shared with others, and that the greatest victories come not from defeating enemies, but from turning enemies into friends. Their partnership, which began in chains, had helped to free an entire galaxy from the chains of hatred and fear. And that was the greatest gift they could have given to each other and to all the beings who would come after them.